Falcon!
Alright, now I've been planning this one for a while now, but it's finally time to make a video solely for my favorite franchise among the big three of Tokusatsu, Kamen Rider. Now in this video I'll be giving you guys a brief history of the franchise, talk about its appeal, the differences between the two generations of riders, and finally quickly recommend some series for newcomers. Keep in mind, while I have watched quite a bit, I myself am still new to the world of Tokusatsu, so consider this all coming from a noob trying to help out a fellow noob. Now when thinking of the history of this franchise, it's important to know the name of a certain mangaka, being Shotaro Ishinomori, who's often regarded as the Stan Lee of Japan, and for good reason, as he pretty much popularized the whole Henshin or transforming hero genre with series such as Android Kikaider and Inazuma Man, along with being responsible for the first and most iconic Japanese superhero team, Cyborg 009, as well as another popular Tokusatsu franchise, Super Sentai. However, before Super Sentai in the early 70s, Ishinomori was approached by Toei in order to create a new live-action superhero show during the early boom of Tokusatsu on TV. Originally, Ishinomori pitched his one-shot manga, The Skullman, which featured one of manga's earliest anti-heroes, though that idea never really came to be, mainly due to Skullman being too dark in both character and story for kids, which was not what Toei was looking for the project they aimed on competing with the likes of Ultraman, which back in the day was just killing it in Japan. So after some redesigning, they went from skulls to bugs after a suggestion from Ishinomori's son, thus creating Kamen Rider, which wasn't off to the greatest start. Ratings in the beginning were nowhere near close to the likes of Ultraman, and to make matters worse, the lead actor, Hiroshi Fujioka, who you may know for playing the badass Segata Sanshiro, wound up breaking both of his legs early in the series, causing a bit of a stir in production, leading to the creation of Kamen Rider 2 to replace the main character till he recovered. While this incident may have seemed like a total mess, it actually wound up helping Kamen Rider gain popularity, and after very successful Rider series to follow, the franchise was on its way to becoming one of the biggest in Tokusatsu. Kamen Rider has always been a series about men using belts to transform and take down evil organizations while riding motorbikes and doing the series' signature Rider Kick. However, I believe a lot of the series' appeal comes from its designs and creativity. In my opinion, Kamen Rider has the best costumes among the big three of Tokusatsu, as while Super Sentai and Ultraman do have some variations between each installment, they both fall into a sort of default with their designs. Despite Kamen Rider having a strong bug theme in the beginning, each rider was very easy to distinguish from one another, and eventually Kamen Rider would move away from the bug theme in order to have their own unique theme, truly allowing each one to stand out. Enhancing the designs is a newer aspect of the Rider franchise, which is bonus transformations, as practically every rider nowadays has their own cool set of forms to use and discover during their run, which is mainly for the sake of selling more toys, but man is it cool. Plus, it's become such a hit as a gimmick, even the franchises of Ultraman and Super Sentai have started using them in recent years. Speaking of gimmicks, Kamen Rider goes all out with them. While the gimmicks have become more apparent with the recent generation of riders, which I'll expand upon in a bit, but even the older riders had their fun gimmicks like Super One's ability changing hands, Stronger's electroshocks, and Sky Rider's ability to fly. However, for the earlier riders, these were more as added abilities, whereas for the newer riders, the gimmicks would shape the entire series themselves. As we have everything from samurai-themed fruit, 2-in-1 heroes, vampire hunters, superpowered Hot Wheels, and even video game-powered doctors. Now before I get to the recommendations, let's go back to what I was saying earlier about the different generations of riders. As for those who don't know, Japan has a very unique time period relating to the imperial government. Kamen Rider started during the Showa era of Japan, which lasted till 1989, which led to the beginning of the current era in Japan, the Heisei era. Now, Showa riders for the most part closely followed the bug theme, and rather than having a bunch of cool forms and weapons, they mainly used martial arts to fight evil. There was also a heavy focus on the loss of humanity, with Showa riders mainly being forced to turn into cyborgs by some evil organization. Also, like most other Tokusatsu franchises around the time, Showa series were heavily episodic, and while to be expected, have some pretty dated special effects, which is sort of an added charm for me personally. Showa series can also get outrageously over the top. I mean, in one series, the lead fights against Starfish Hitler. Yes, that does happen. However, the best aspect of the Showa series was that writers were just manly as fuck, just both in and out of costume. However, getting to the Heisei era writers, not only did we move away from the bug theme, but stories started to have more depth. The manly men of the Showa era were replaced with younger pretty boys, and then of course the addition of new forms, weapons, as well as various secondary writers for our leads to either team up or fight against. With this in mind, it might be easy to figure out where exactly you want to start depending on your taste in superhero shows. But to further help out, let's get into the recommendations. Keep in mind, I haven't fully watched everything I'm recommending here, and using some of the general opinions of the Toku community to find the best match for you newcomers. Also, these are going to be extremely brief as I do plan on making full videos for them sometime in the future. But to start off, let's go through some Showa series. First off, there is the first Kamen Rider, which I'm mainly recommending just to see where the writer phenomenon started, as well as just to see the badass himself, Hiroshi Fujioka, at work, who is so awesome. He, along with the franchise itself, have an asteroid belt named after them. How fucking cool is that? Then there is Kamen Rider Stronger. Now, design-wise, it may seem pretty stupid, but really it grows on you after a while. Pair that off with an awesome theme song sung by the legendary Ichiro Mizuki, the first ever female rider sidekick, the Electric Human Tackle. Yeah, that's the name. As it was simply one of the manliest riders out there, and you got a pretty fun and cheesy rider series. Next up is Kamen Rider Super 1, which is a fun series that best utilizes the martial arts aspect of the early Kamen Rider, with the main character himself being a martial artist. This one had the cool gimmick of the 5 hands, which gave Super 1 different abilities, which actually stands out a lot among the Showa series. Finally, on the Showa writers, we have Kamen Rider Black, often regarded as the best of the Showa era and possibly the franchise as a whole. On top of visually being the best for its time along with its dark and personal story, this one is very unique and influential for the franchise, as Black is the only writer to receive a direct sequel being Black RX, with RX technically being the franchise's first taste at weapons in different forms, which of course is later expanded upon in the next generation. For a while, Black was the very last writer of the franchise, and you know what? If that was the case, it at least went out with a bang. Luckily for us, however, the franchise is still going strong, which brings us to the Heisei writers I recommend. First off, I just have to recommend a personal favorite of mine, being Double, or W. A fantastic series with a unique concept of a 2-in-1 writer, in the sense that our leads sort of combine to form a single hero, whose different sides are able to use different abilities, leading to a lot of cool power combinations. However, this isn't just another superhero show, as it's also a crime mystery with our main characters being detectives, adding some spice to the normal superhero formula. This one will always hold a special place in my heart for being one of the first writer series I checked out, as well as completed. Then there's Kamen Rider Gaim, which is another writer series often regarded as one of the best, due to its story that starts off pretty happy but eventually evolves into something much deeper and darker. Which I guess shouldn't be too surprising considering one of the people who wrote this season also worked on Madoka Magica, being Gen Urobuchi, who's better known for his work on Psycho Pass, Fate Zero, and the upcoming Godzilla anime. Really, anime directors are taking over Godzilla projects lately. Darker story aside, I have to give this series props for simply pulling off the idea of fruity samurai warriors and making it totally badass. Like, for real, I'm not even joking here. The way it's presented is way cooler than it has any right on being. Then there's Kamen Rider Heisei, which is just a really fun series, and out of all the Kamen Riders I've watched, this one feels the most like an actual anime. I mean, for starters, it takes place in high school, which unlike in anime is really refreshing to see. Then we have our main character, whose goal is to literally become friends with everyone, and throughout the series he uses plenty of friendship power-ups and drills. Yeah, I forgot to mention one of the people who wrote this series also worked on Gurren Lagann. Next up is Kamen Rider Amazons, which I should really get back to watching myself. Amazons is a sort of reimagining of a Showa Rider series, which back in the day stood out a lot due to its short length and surprising amount of bloodshed. However, Amazons boost the bloodshed and maturity, easily making it the goriest Rider series out there, as this one was not made with kids in mind, but rather adults, making this perfect for anyone who wants a more mature tokusatsu series to start off with. Finally, while it's just started, there's Kamen Rider Build, which seems very promising so far. And honestly, what a better way to get into a franchise but by checking out the latest that everyone's talking about to help get in with the community. Build will also be the final Heisei Rider, as the Emperor in Japan will be changing soon, though I don't think it will impact the series as much as the transition from Showa to Heisei. And you know what? That about wraps it up here. With my recommendation list, it's really just a quick list of series I feel people who normally watch my videos will find interesting. However, there are plenty of other great series like Kabuto, O's, and the recently finished Heisei. Hopefully once I watch a bit more from each franchise, I'll make a video similar to this for Super Sentai and Ultraman. Till then, I hope this video got plenty of newcomers to either Kamen Rider or Tokusatsu as a whole. And with that, I'll be seeing you guys next time.